So here again, the Brahmanas, because because after that incident took place in Daksha Yajna, so there is a lot of cursing and counter cursing is going on. So Nandishwar also started cursing the Brahmanas and the people who were supporting Daksha. And the Brahmanas also started now counter cursing Nandi and his followers, and basically Lord Shiva's devotees. So here again, they are cursing that all those followers of Lord Shiva, devotees of Lord Shiva, so will be like whatever is mentioned in this purport. So they will have long hairs, so they won't take bath, or their mode of worship will be just with wine or flesh and all these things. So which is actually recommended for Shiva worship. So it is. So and one of the biggest result of following this kind of worship is that Prabhupada is saying by such behavior one becomes devoid of transcendental knowledge, like that, because of using all these things for worship, because these things are against devotion service. So one becomes more hard-hearted, one becomes more away from Krishna consciousness. That's why it is Prabhupada saying, so one becomes totally devoid of transcendental knowledge. So and also for using things which are used for Lord Shiva's worship, as I said, are mainly wine or palm tree juice. So which is also one way of wine only. After it becomes fermented, and it becomes like an intoxicant. And all these things are used in Lord Shiva's worship. So this is worship in the mode of ignorance actually. So as we know, there are three kinds of worship. So mode of goodness, mode of passion, so mode of ignorance. So in mode of goodness, so the type of worship is mainly, the worship is based on, means there is an involvement of sukha and happiness and knowledge. So there is jnana also. So one who perform this kind of worship, that is mainly worship of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So one feels a sense of happiness that I know. So in this kind of people in this mode of worship, so they follow the scriptures and they are in the mode of goodness. So and they also feel, because they have good knowledge of the scriptures, so they are also happy. Oh, I know something. So they may be smarta brahmanas also. And I know something, and I can do something, and I also worship some demigods. So like that. And worship in the mode of passion and mode of ignorance. Just a minute. And worship in the mode of passion, so people are generally interested, just like Hiranyakashipu. So people are interested that I want some wealth, or I want some name, fame, prestige. So people worship demigods mainly for getting all these things. So that is worship in the mode of passion. And worship in the mode of ignorance, this is characterized by nidra, alasya and pramad. So nidra means sleep, then alasya lazy. So pramad means one is mad. So worship in the mode of ignorance. So one is uses these kind of things which are mentioned for, it is mainly Shiva and Durga worship. So when we use these kind of things like wine or intoxicant, so one is at least in the mode of passion, some activity is there. Like you are worshipping Lord, maybe I want to go abroad or I want to earn some money. So there is some positive, maybe not positive, there is some activity, passionate activity is there. So I want something for sense gratification. But in worship of ignorance, what is there is that we are using something so which is making us more dull, and there is completely inactive. So we become, either somebody takes intoxicants, or somebody, because of taking wine or enjoying with women, one becomes body becomes emaciated or dull, and one goes to ignorance only. One is prone to sleep, so one becomes confused, or one becomes mad and all. So there is no inactive, there is complete inactivity. So that is these are the characteristics of people who worship demigods in the mode of ignorance. And scriptures say that there are 18 Puranas, so which are also in mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. So Puranas in the mode of goodness are like Matsya Puran, Shiva Puran, sorry, not Shiva. So Matsya Puran, Garuda Puran, Narada Puran, Padma Puran, and Bhagavata Puran. So these are all Puranas in the mode of goodness. So Purana is a mode of passion, are Brahmanda Puran. So these are Puranas which are dealing with worship of demigods mainly, Lord Brahma and different demigods. So these Puranas are Brahmanda Puran, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Markandeya Puran, Bhavishya Puran, and Brahma Puranas. So these are all dealing with the demigods. And Puranas which are dealing with mode of goodness are, ignorance are. So these Puranas mainly discusses about mode of worship for Lord Shiva and Lord Goddess Durga. So these are Linga Puran, Shiva Puran, Skanda Puran, Agni Puran, Matsya Puran also, and Kurma Puran also. It is comes under this category. So Puranas in the mode of ignorance are, so it is mentioned about Shiva worship, Durga worship. So Lord Shiva is in the mode of course, he is dealing with the mode of ignorance. So he is not in the mode of ignorance. He is actually great devotee, but he is given that department of being in charge of the mode of ignorance. So to promote mode of ignorance in the material world. So there Lord Shiva uses Mother Parvati. So he uses Mother Parvati to keep all the living entities in this material world in the mode of ignorance. So that's why you might have seen many times a picture of Goddess Durga, so with lot of heads. So garland of different heads. So these are the heads of different asuras, whom so when it is said that when Goddess Durga becomes very angry, fed up with the people of this material world, so she starts killing the asuras wholesale, like in case there is a war or something like that. So because Maya Devi, Goddess Durga, is completely fed up with the living entities who are not worshipping Lord Krishna, so she arranges these kind of wars in this world, so that these asuras, they kill each other. So that's why this, and sometimes because Lord Shiva is actually using Durga to create all these mass killings, but sometimes Lord Shiva is also because he has a compassionate nature. He also feels, there is too much punishment of asuras going on, and he wants to control Mother Parvati. So that's why you sometimes see a picture that Lord Shiva is lying down, and Lord Shiva is trying to convince Durga that please stop. So that's why he's at the feet of Mother Durga, and Durga's feet is actually there on the chest of Lord Shiva. So that is the meaning of this picture. So worshippers of Lord Shiva. So we see sometimes many spiritual organization also. So like ISKCON, we are worshipping Lord Krishna, but we see there are organizations who are worshipping Lord Shiva also, and they are more rich than ISKCON organizations. So that is why, because so Lord Shiva is a demigod, and Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. So when somebody worships Lord Shiva, even if you are Asura like Ravana, or so Ravana was also very rich, and he had Lanka, which is made of solid gold. So somebody may be an Asura also. So even if an Asura worships Lord Shiva, so Lord Shiva, his nature is like that. He always gives lot of wealth, money, name, fame, and all. So that's why we see somebody may be bewildered. Even devotees coming to ISKCON also will be disturbed. That so many, I am worshipping Lord Krishna, Gaurnitai, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra for many years, and still I am poor. Whereas my nearby neighbor is worshipping Lord Shiva, and he and his family are very rich, and they go to some spiritual organization and look at their their organization. So there's sometimes we met one devotee had gone to one of the Lord Shiva's mutt, some place. So there he saw it is there is very acres and acres of land, and very nice fountain, waterfall is there, and very nice buildings, and everything is very peaceful. Nice gardens, flower gardens, and they have made artificial river and all. It is flowing very nicely, and so very nice infrastructures, very nice building is there, and very nice accommodation. So whereas in ISKCON, so that ISKCON devotee who went there was thinking, oh, maybe if our temple was also like that, it would have been very nice. But we see in ISKCON temple, it is not like that. So now also we are struggling to collect funds, and just now the building is coming up, new temple is coming up, and still there is some austerity. We don't have so much facilities like Lord Shiva's followers. So, but we must still not be disturbed. So generally new devotees, they get disturbed. Oh, I think I should also change my personality whom I am worshipping. Maybe I should also become a devotee of Lord Shiva. So one should not be disturbed. So that is the most important thing we have to learn. So it is quite obvious that these things are happening because they are worshippers of Lord Shiva. So they are getting lot of material benefits from Lord Shiva. Very easily they get. So because we are worshippers of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, so we are not getting, because Krishna is actually testing us, that are we really sincere. So our worship should be completely ahituki, unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service. So that is the definition of the worship that is in the mode of pure goodness, bhakti. So we must worship Lord Krishna, which must be completely unmotivated. So then Krishna sees that we don't want anything from Krishna. Then Krishna awards us pure bhakti. So our goal should not be to have some big apartments or nice wealth or luxurious facility to stay or nice food to eat. Then if you want that, then you can be a worshipper of Lord Shiva. But our goal is what? To worship Krishna and to go back home, back to Godhead. So that should be our motivation. So Krishna, in order to test us, he will not give all these facilities. So Krishna wants to check us, our sincerity. And Krishna really gives a lot of tests. So only when we pass the test, when we become pure devotees, then Krishna may give us some material benefit, that just like Krishna gave to Srila Prabhupada also. So in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada was struggling a lot. So there was no funds, there were no followers. Then later, of course, then Krishna gave everything to. So there were 108 temples all over the world. There were farm communities. There were schools, gurukuls, a lot of followers. So Krishna really tests our sincerity. Only if we are very sincere, and Krishna sees actually that we are not attached to wealth, name, fame, money, then Krishna will award all these things. So Krishna will not give these things if we are attached to them. So that is Krishna's test. But Lord Shiva is not like that. Even if we are attached, even if we are an asura, Lord Shiva will give all these things. Because Lord Shiva is called Ashutosh. He is very easily pleased if somebody worships him. That's why if somebody is even attached to bad habits, also they worship Lord Shiva. So this is actually worship in the mode of ignorance. So that's why even if you go to some temples, like there is one temple near to Bombay, Kanakeshwar. So in a place called Kanakeshwar. So there there's a temple of Lord Shiva. So there if you go, all the sadhus, there are so many sadhus there. So they are actually smoking ganja. So ganja they are smoking. And if you ask them, so they will also quote from Shiva Puran and some scriptures related to Lord Shiva, that how this is also mentioned in our Shiva scriptures, that we should all do these kind of things. And even on Mahashivaratri day also, other days they won't do, they are engaged in these kind of activities. But on Shivaratri day, all these followers of Shiva, they do take all these kind of intoxicant to the maximum extent. So on this day. So that is it is mentioned in the Shiva scriptures that we should take all these things on the day of Mahashivaratri. One can take all these things. It is mentioned in the scriptures. But why it is mentioned in the scriptures like this? Because that is for regulation only. So in those who are these kind of low class people are there in this material world. So at least it is mentioned that you can perform these kind of activities only on the day of Mahashivaratri, like that. You can perform. So that's why Mahashivaratri maximum it is done. But only on specific days. But Lord Shiva followers are using this, and they do almost every day. Every day they do, and on Shivaratri day they do the maximum. Like that. And even in tantric worship, in Durga worship also, so there are 5 things that has to be followed. The 5 M's, the 5M formula of tantric worship for method of worship for Durga. So what are those 5 M's? So Mamsa, the second M is Matsya, then Maithun, then Madira, and Mura. So that is, so these 5 things are compulsory for the worship of Durga. So Mamsa means meat, so Matsya, fish, then Maithun, illicit sex, then liquor, Madira. Then Mura means they eat something called parched rice, puffed rice, I think, which is used in the mode of worship of Durga. So these 5 things are the main mode of worship for Durga. So we see all these things which are used for Durga worship. Basically, one goes down. Somebody becomes addicted to these things. So as the curse of Brahmanas, one becomes bereft of so there is no scope of gaining any transcendental knowledge. So one uses these kind of things for worship, or somebody who is addicted to these kind of things. So Puranas for the worship people in the mode of goodness. Actually, Puranas are not in the mode of goodness. So these Puranas are meant for the people in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, like that. So Puranas are above the modes. So Puranas in the mode of goodness are Puranas like Bhagavata Puran or Bhagavad Gita and all these Puranas. So just like we say this, it is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita. Text 5. Shiram yata dadivikara shesha yoga sanjayate nahi tata pratagasti heto yashambutam mai tata sampeta karyat govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So there it is mentioned about what is the nature of Lord Shiva. So just like milk, when it is transformed, it becomes curd. So similarly, this Lord Shiva is just an expansion of Lord Vishnu only. It's like curd is actually transformed milk, but the effect of curd is different. Somebody may take milk and get indigestion. And the same person, if he takes curd, then the indigestion goes off. Then he gets it acts completely differently. So similarly, so Lord Shiva is also like that. So Lord Shiva is just an expansion of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, Govinda, who is the transformation of Lord Krishna himself, and who is in charge of the mode of destruction. So like that. So that is the tattva of Lord Shiva. So we should, even though Lord Shiva's followers are like this in the mode of ignorance, and they follow these kind of bad habits, but one should know actually Lord Shiva is actually transcendental to these modes. So Lord Shiva has two aspects. So Lord Shiva has just like there are two personalities in the same person. So Lord Shiva is like that. He has two facets. So one aspect is he is a pure devotee, and another aspect is other half is like he is a demigod. Somebody who worships Lord Shiva like a demigod, then he shows his demigod nature. He will give a lot of benefits. And somebody who worships Lord Shiva as a pure Vaishnava, then he can progress in his spiritual life also. So Lord Shiva is called the best of Vaishnavas. So just like it is said that Nimna Ganam Yata Ganga, or Devanam Achyuto Yata. So of all the rivers, Ganga is the best, or Devanam Achyuto Yata. Of all the demigods, gods, so Lord Achyuta is the best. And Puranam Idam Tata. So for all the Puranas, the Bhagavad Puran is the supreme. So similarly, so of all the devotees, Lord Shiva is the best. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So it is mentioned. So we should know that Lord Shiva is the best of Vaishnavas. So there are so many quotations from the scriptures which say the supremacy of Lord Shiva. And Shiva is also one of the 12 Mahajanas. Swayambur, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu. So these 12 Mahajanas are they are in charge of. So just like we have GBCs. So the GBCs are in charge for spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So Prabhupada says, so these 12 Mahajanas are like the 12 GBCs of the universe, governing body commissioners. So they are in charge for spreading devotion service throughout the entire universe. So Lord Shiva is one of the GBCs. So Shiva is the composer of the Rudra Geetam. So Lord Shiva, so when the 10 Prachetas, they were under the water, so they were worshipping Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva came there, so they were very intensely praying to Lord Shiva. So when Lord Shiva came there to give darshan, so immediately the Lord Shiva at that time spoke a series of verses in glorifying Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is called Rudra Geetam. So there also we see how Lord Shiva is actually telling. So Lord Shiva did not, because these Prachetas were very sincere, so they actually wanted to know the highest path. But they were not knowing who is the Supreme. So they were worshipping Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, being such a great devotee, great Vaishnava, he actually spoke Rudra Geetam, which is actually glorification of Lord Narayan. And there, so Lord Shiva is mentioning to Prachetas that although devotion service worshipping Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotion service is very difficult. But in case, just if one reads this Rudra Gitam or sings these verses, one can easily attain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there Lord Shiva is telling the Prachetas. Of course, devotion service is not difficult, is not very difficult. But even Lord Shiva is saying that even though you may think that devotion service is difficult and worshipping the Supreme Lord is difficult, but if you just read this Rudra Gita, then you can easily attain the mercy of Lord Krishna. So there Lord Shiva is promising the Prachetas. So that's why in that purport of the verse, Srila Prabhupada is also saying that. So Lord Shiva is so great, he is a Mahajan, that he introduced this parampara, which is coming from Lord Shiva himself. That is Rudra Sampradaya. So somebody, even this Vishnu Swami is also coming in this, he is one great Acharya coming in this Sampradaya. So somebody who is part of this Sampradaya attains pure devotion service to Lord Krishna. So he is a Mahajan that he started this Sampradaya just for the benefit of the fallen conditioned souls of his age. And Lord Shiva, one of the great activity that Lord Shiva performed is the drinking of the poison which came out from the milk ocean. So when all the demigods and asuras were churning the ocean of milk, so this great poison, this very deadly poison started coming out, and everybody was bewildered, all the living entities, demigods, asuras. So they were thinking, this very dangerous poison is coming out, what to do? So then they all approached Lord Vishnu. Then Vishnu said, let us all go to Lord Shiva, like that. So, but many people, they misuse this pastime. They say, see, when Vishnu could not help us, ultimately Lord Shiva only helped us in removing this poison. Actually, what Lord Shiva did was, he drank this whole poison, and because it is very poisonous, he stopped this poison in the kanta itself, in the throat itself. So that's why Lord Shiva is sometimes called as Kalakant or Neelakant. So that name comes from this pastime. But later Lord Shiva is only glorifying Lord Vishnu. Even though Lord Vishnu wanted to glorify Lord Shiva, that see, such great is the activity of Lord, my devotee, Lord Shiva, that he is able to do this activity. So just like Lord Krishna himself would have fought the Mahabharata war, but he used Arjuna to fight the war, and all the glories went to the Pandavas, especially Arjuna, isn't it? So, but we cannot say that Arjuna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, he killed all the Kauravas. So because of Arjuna, we won the war. So somebody who says that is a fool. Somebody who says that Arjuna is God is a fool. So similarly, so Lord Vishnu wanted to give the glory to Lord Shiva. And if somebody says that Lord Shiva is supreme, then he is completely ignorant. So that's why in this verse, Lord Shiva is glorifying Lord Vishnu. So Lord Shiva is saying, Pumsa kripayato badre sarvatma priyate harihi priyate haro bhagavati priyeham sacharacharaha tasmadidam garam bunje prajana swastirastu me. So there, so Lord Shiva is telling his wife, Mother Parvati, oh my dear Bhavani, Goddess Parvati, Lord Vishnu, performing wonderful benevolent welfare activities, Lord, for all the living entities, is very pleasing to Lord Vishnu. And because I am performing this wonderful activity of drinking this poison, and which is by which I can perform welfare activities for all the living entities, for the demigods, asuras. So certainly Lord Vishnu will be very pleased. I am only doing this, drinking this poison, just to please all the living entities. Whereby pleasing all living entities, I can please Lord Krishna. So by this verse, one can easily understand that Lord Krishna is Lord Shiva is doing this just to please Lord Krishna. So there is Lord Shiva also says to Mother Parvati, Shri Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. So Lord Shiva is telling Mother Parvati that even I chant the name of Lord Ram. So, and the names of Lord Ram is the most glorious names, and which bestows auspiciousness to all the living entities. So Lord Shiva is saying this to Mother Parvati. So this verse is also mentioned in Padma Puran. And Lord Shiva, as in many of the dhams, in all the dhams in this Bharatvarsha in India, whether it's Vrindavan, Mathura, Jagannath Puri, and all these dhams, Rameshwaram. So on all the sides, so there is the deity of Shivalinga is there surrounding all these dhams. So it is considered that Lord Shiva is like the protector of the dham. So he wants to protect Lord Krishna's dham. That's why in Vrindavan also. So we have this on all four sides. In there is Gopeshwar Mahadev is there, or Pipaleshwar Mahadev on one side. Then on one side is Bhuteshwar Mahadev, and Rangeshwar Mahadev. So on all four sides, so these four deities of Lord is there. Chakleshwar Mahadev also. So on all these four directions, so these four deities are there, and many other direction also. So the Shivalinga is there. So these act like the protector of the dham. And there is one more very special pastime which also says the superiority of Lord Vishnu over Lord Shiva. So that is the Mohini Murti pastime. So Lord Shiva wanted, so many demigods and demons and demigods, they got the darshan of Mohini Murti. So when Mohini Murti took that nectar and gave to demigods, so they could get the darshan. But only Lord Shiva was not there when this pastime was happening. He could not get darshan of Mohini. So Lord Shiva prayed to Lord Krishna, please let me get darshan as Mohini Murti. So when Lord Krishna gave the darshan of Mohini Murti, so Lord Shiva was so much bewildered that so Lord Shiva started chasing behind Mohini. So this is a very beautiful form of a lady which Lord Krishna incarnated. So so Mohini was running to all the places. So Lord Shiva was following. So Mohini also ran amidst the ashrams of Lord Shiva's devotees also. So many of Lord Shiva's devotees were very great sages, saints, rishis. So Mohini was running, and Lord Shiva was chasing behind Mohini, and through all these hermitages. So all these sages were very much bewildered. Our Lord Shiva is running behind a woman. So they were very confused because these sages were great devotees of Shiva, and they were great sannyasis. And in the end, when Lord Shiva united with Mohini, so that is when Lord Shiva actually realized, he came to his senses. He came out of Yoga Maya, actually. So he came out of Yoga Maya. So we cannot say it is a Mahamaya. So it is arranged by Lord only. So Lord Shiva was in Yoga Maya, unlike all of us. So unlike all the conditioned souls who are in Mahamaya. So when after coming out of Maya, then Lord Shiva starts glorifying Lord Krishna that oh, you are so glorious that even a Dhira like me can be bewildered by you, like that. So Lord Shiva is actually glorifying Lord Krishna in this way. So one of the great nature, quality of Lord Shiva is that he is very compassionate. So that's why Lord Shiva, because his nature of compassion and his nature of benevolence is so great that he is most of the time in the graveyard only. So he roams in the graveyard. So that's why many of the graveyard, you may see the temple of or deity of Lord Shiva is there in one corner, because Lord Shiva is there to associate and to deliver the ghosts actually. And and ghosts, and Lord Shiva is there. He's covered with ashes. He has a lot of snakes around his body, and he wears a deer skin. And it is said that he's always roaming in the graveyard and to deliver these ghosts who are roaming without any. So sometimes these, when people die because they have committed a lot of sinful activities, so they don't get another body. So they remain as ghosts only. So Lord Shiva is there to deliver these ghosts and to give us. He gives association to these ghosts. And ghosts and these kind of asuras, they get great shelter from Lord Shiva. So one should always know the quality of Lord Shiva, that he is a great Vaishnava, and he's a great he's a great Vaishnava also. And but if somebody worships Lord Shiva like a demigod, then he may give these kind of material benedictions, which is actually worship in the mode of ignorance. But if one worships Lord Shiva as a great Vaishnava, then he certainly will become a great devotee, or Lord Shiva will actually bring him to the path of bhakti actually. So many devotees many ISKCON devotees also, they say that previously they were worshippers of Lord Shiva, but they were very sincere. So they were not worshipping Lord Shiva with ganja or BD like that. So they were worshipping Lord Shiva. Somebody may be in Lingayats, or so in that particular caste, or somebody may be worshippers of. So even Radheshyam Prabhu also, Radheshyam Prabhu was mentioning that he was also worshipper of Lord Shiva, very sincere worshipper of Lord Shiva. And this kind of devotees, because they were very sincere, so Lord Shiva or these Prachetas also, they were very sincere. So they were not taking intoxicants. So they were sincerely worshipping Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva gave them Rudra Geetam. So Lord Shiva told them, see, I am not the Supreme Personality. Actually, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality. So Lord Shiva guided them to a bona fide spiritual master, where they got in touch with ISKCON, or they got in touch with pure devotional service. So we'll end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any comments or suggestions? Oh, and here it's mentioned that it's a Vara Purana. It is. Vara Purana is in the mode of goodness, but Matsya Puran, Kurma Puran also comes in the mode of ignorance. Vara Puran. Oh. What?